Okay, so F. We had lots of discussions about what F would be for. My suggestion was going to be fringe benefits tax, and Joel said, no, that's too boring, and I kind of agree. Sorry, everyone who loves fringe benefits tax. I'm sure if Michael Konajeski is listening to this, he won't be, I'm sure he would totally be going, no fringe benefits tax. But we're going to do F is for fair work.
Yeah, so we have spoken about fair work a lot lately. There's been so many of, cases going through fair work for underpayment of wages, and they just seem to be something that we talk about all the time. So we thought we'd do a little bit of a deep dive into fair work, a brief history on them and what their role is, what they actually do. And there is the Fair Work Commission and the Fair Work Ombudsman. So we're just going to break down the difference between them.
Yeah, I agree. I think, honestly, even me doing this research, I always knew there was two, but I didn't actually know the difference. So what is the difference? Do you want to talk about that?
You've got it in front of you, Jo.
I've got it in front of me. Okay, so the Fair Work Ombudsman. So first of all, let's just start with, where did Fair Work come from? I think that's important. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, exactly. So the Fair Work Commission until 2013 was known as Fair Work Australia, and it is an Australian Industrial Relations Tribunal which was created by the Fair Work Act as part of the Rudd government's reforms to industrial relations in Australia. So its operations commenced on the 1st of July 2009.
Mm-hmm. And it was originally called Fair Work Australia. The Fair Work Amendment Act in 2012 made the name change to the Fair Work Commission.
Yes, that's correct.
And it is different to the Fair Work Ombudsman, and realistically, most of the time when we are talking about fair work, we're talking about the Fair Work Ombudsman. They're independent, they're not together, they just happen to have very similar names, which makes us all very confused. So the Fair Work Ombudsman, their role is to enforce the legislation, so the Fair Work Act legislation, the awards and registered agreements. Their job is also to help employers and employees by providing advice, education and assistance on pay rates and workplace rights and obligations.
Exactly right. So some of the things that the Fair Work Ombudsman can do include providing reliable and timely information about Australia's workplace relations system, educating people about fair work practices, rights and obligations. They can resolve workplace issues by promoting and monitoring compliance. They can enforce workplace laws and seek penalties for breaches of the workplace laws, and they can also enforce certain orders made by the Fair Work Commission.
But what they can't do is they can't investigate unfair dismissal and unfair termination applications, make changes to the legislation, awards and registered agreements, or investigate bullying and sexual harassment complaints. So then we go over to the Fair Work Commission, and their role is that they're the independent National Workplace Relations Tribunal. They're responsible for maintaining a safety net of minimum wages and employment conditions, as well as a range of other workplace functions and regulations.
That's right. So there are a heap of things that the Fair Work Commission can do, and they include helping employees and employers bargain in good faith and to make, vary or terminate enterprise agreements, deal with applications relating to ending employment, including unfair dismissal, unlawful termination or general protections, deal with applications for an order to stop bullying at work, along with sexual harassment, make orders about industrial action, including strike, work bans or lockouts, provide mediation, in some cases hold public tribunal hearings in regards to workplace disputes, and they can also make workplace determinations, hear and decide on equal I can never say that word.
Remuneration.
Thank you. Claims, and deal with applications about transfer of business, stand down, general protections and right of entry disputes.
Yeah, so there's a lot of words there, but essentially if you've got a problem or you need information about how you employ people, what you need to be doing, you go to the Fair Work Ombudsman. That's the website, fairwork.gov.au. So I think that's the important place to go, fairwork.gov.au. If it's a dispute type situation, so you've got a claim about sexual harassment, unfair dismissal, all that sort of stuff, that's where you go to the Fair Work Commission, which is fwc.gov.au. So there you go. Hopefully that helped you understand that. So there's just a couple of things I did go and have a look, because really the Fair Work Commission website probably is not somewhere you're going to spend too much time, but I think the fairwork.gov.au website is one that you could spend a bit of time and find there's some amazing resources there actually.
There certainly is.
So did you have a little look around the website?
I certainly did. And what I found interesting was they actually listed what their priorities are for 2022-2023. I don't know if you've seen this, Jo, but they've listed that their main priority remains in supporting workers and businesses as they recover from the impacts of COVID-19. But what was most interesting is they actually listed the sectors that they're focusing on, and a lot of them were, of course, sectors impacted by COVID-19. So there's 5 sectors that they're looking at, and the first one is fast food, restaurants and cafes, so the hospitality industry. The second one is the agriculture industry. Third one is sham contracting, which I guess we'll go into, once this draft ruling finalises. The fourth one is large corporate and university sectors, and the fifth one is contract cleaning.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So when I had a little look around the website, there was one area that I particularly liked, which was called the EAS, which is the Employer Advisory Service, and I have not used this. We've rung Fair Work before. I actually spend quite a bit of time on that website just because we're always getting asked questions about, employment stuff. But if you're a small business, you can actually use that service to get some written advice from Fair Work. So there's a form to fill out. So go onto the website, fairwork.gov.au, look for the EAS or the Employer Assistance Scheme, or whatever it's called. Fill out the details and they'll actually come back to you. They might need to phone call you. They might need to make a phone call with you. They might need to get a bit more information. But they'll give you a proper written advice of what you should be doing, and that is got a guarantee to it. So if you're following that advice, obviously if you're not following it, you're not going to be getting too much benefit out of it. But if you're following that advice, they will not. You can't. You're safe. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's free, so go in and have a look at that. But also on that website, there's heaps of templates, fact sheets, tools, calculators. It's the go-to, obviously, for awards, to find your award. Yeah,
it's a huge information hub, that website. There is heaps in there, so yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, if you're an employer and you just feel a little lost, I think every employer should have that as their bookmark in their Google browser or whatever they're browsing in. Be able to go to that, know where to look and know their award. You should also always have a copy of your award available to you and make sure you're paying under your award.
Yeah, it's a really, really good resource, that website. And if you can get written advice for free, why wouldn't you do that as well? Take advantage of it.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, hopefully that's just given you a little bit of clarification, because we are always talking about Fair Work, who they are. I've been listening to some books about Julia Gillard, because we're doing a little bit of research at the moment. Maybe that's a little bit of a spoiler alert there. But, she does talk a fair bit about the Fair Work Act and all of that sort of stuff in her biography that I'm reading at the moment. We've had a change of government. After that was introduced, they kept Fair Work. We're back to a Labor government. I can't see anything going away with Fair Work at the moment.
No, I can't see any huge changes to Fair Work happening anytime soon.
Yeah, so all right. Well, I think we're nearly done.
I think that's all we have time for this week. It was a big one.